With the possibility of 3 or more national finalists, another strong recruiting class on the horizon, and so much more, Ohio State is looking like it could be a top contender for an NCAA team trophy in the near future. However, besides the fact that Penn State is a looming giant in the NCAA landscape, Ohio State has dealt with some serious adversity this offseason, with a poor transfer portal showing and head coach Tom Ryan suffering a serious injury during a bad car crash. The Buckeyes have for sure dealt with their problems this offseason. But first, hello everyone and welcome to TrueTan Wrestling. Be sure to like and subscribe for more lineup previews and fun wrestling topics. Now, let's talk about some Ohio State wrestling. For starters, I am really happy to hear that Tom Ryan is doing well with recovery, because this guy has truly changed the standard at Ohio State. He turned OSU from a very middle-of-the-road team to a multi-trophy earning university, only losing to some of the best teams ever. He's also put some of the best teams ever together, and he stood at the very top with his Ohio State team back in 2015. Truly a great person and coach, and I think we can all agree with that. One of the biggest things I think Ohio State has done is continue to evolve their recruiting classes. It's easy to bring in great wrestlers some years over others, but Ohio State continues to grow and constantly bring in great top 10 athletes year over year. But overall, ever since Tom Ryan got there, he's continued to grow Ohio State, and that's not going to change anytime soon. And now, speaking of their top recruiting classes, there is no better way to start at than good old 125. Last year, the starter at 125 was Brendan McCrone, a national qualifier for Ohio State. I will say this, the dude can ride with some legs, and he had a lot of highs and a lot of lows last season. I think he will for sure be competing for the spot next year, but it is not a done deal, especially with now redshirt freshman Vince Kilkery stepping into the fold. Kilkery had an impressive showing at the U20 Open this summer, wrestling a ton of matches as a true freshman at Opens as well, and he basically beat Braden Davis in the Penn State versus Ohio State duel, but also not really. I think Kilkery and McCrone are Ohio State's best options at 125, and overall, I think Kilkery is either going to really blow out this race for the spot, or it's going to be super tight early in the season. I think 133 is pretty straightforward, and it's probably going to be Nick Bouzakis. However, my hesitation is from one name only, and I have to mention him, and that is Ben DeVino, coming in as a true freshman. DeVino is one of the top recruits, beating some of the best high school wrestlers in the world right now. To be honest, I think they're going to redshirt him, but I could very well see him find his way somewhere in the lineup, so we'll see. I mean, the guy made the U20 trials finals this summer, losing to Marcus Blaze, but he was Blaze's last high school loss as well. Which, if Blaze eventually goes to Ohio State, this lightweight situation could get very interesting, but we have some time before we get into that discussion, so moving on. I think 141 is hands down the Jesse Mendez show in the Ohio State room. I mean, he is their returning national champion. I will say I am pretty excited for Bartlett versus Mendez round 4 and beyond, even though they can kind of be, well, boring matches until at least the last 10 seconds usually.
He can finish his takedown. He's going to secure it.
Plus, Andrew Alirez will be back in the fold at 141, potentially. There's also some talk that he might go 149. Mendez recently beat Alirez at the Beat the Streets event, 4-1 in freestyle. So right now, I would say Mendez is still the favorite heading into the season. However, to jump back into the lineup discussion, there is one person I want to mention, but we'll wait until 149, which we'll talk about right now. 149 is one of the Buckeyes' most interesting weights, mostly because I have no idea what direction they'll go for, especially since I don't really know who's been evolving this past off season. For starters, I'm actually super curious if Sammy Sasso will be good or not for next season. I've heard a lot that he might be back, and since his accident, he's lost enough weight to bring 149 back into the picture. If he's a healthy Sammy Sasso, I think he's easily their best option, but I don't know if we'll ever see him back on the college mat. However, the one guy I really wanted to talk about is Brandon Cannon, who could be a 141 or 149. I thought he looked pretty tall last season, so I could see him growing into the 149 spot. He was a really nice sleeper pickup for Ohio State, and then he almost won Ironman his senior year as a high schooler. And then he went 10-2 against D1 competition as a redshirt, so he for sure had a nice nice season last year. Also, Dylan D'Amelio could be coming back for his last year of eligibility, so he is for sure in the fold, along with Ohio recruit Brock Herman, who had a super mixed bag redshirt year, beating some studs and losing to some alright guys as well. So to be honest, if I'm on the Ohio State coaching staff, which I'm not, I'm pretty excited for 149, because it could be a roller coaster for the starting spot, which can be a good and bad thing for everything involved. But from a fan perspective, I think it could be pretty fun to watch unfold throughout the season. I think similar to 149, the same can be true for 157, sort of. They really have two options with Isaac Wilcox, who was the guy last year and didn't do too bad for them, becoming a national qualifier and winning some matches at NCAAs. I think Wilcox's biggest struggle is honestly scoring in bunches, because he really doesn't score a ton in most matches. But overall, he had a pretty good season, especially not knowing if he was going to be the starter at 157 or 165. Paddy Gallagher will also be returning from injury, and he might be my pick for this spot. He had a lot of wins last year, even though he got hurt about halfway through the season, and yes, he did take some lumps for sure, but he did look like he got a lot better from his redshirt freshman year to redshirt sophomore year. Overall though, his season did get cut short, so who knows how it would have panned out. At 165, I know Ohio State has been trying to go hard on the portal for 2 years now, and maybe they still are, but for now I think their best option is Bryce Hepner, unless one of the 157 options decides to bump up, which I think Paddy Gallagher might not be a bad option at 165 either, but anyway, I think Bryce is a good option despite some of his results last year. In my honest opinion, I think he just needs to come into a season healthy and stay healthy. Whenever he has a season where he is in and out of the lineup due to injury, he never finds a good consistency of success. He's also a pretty wild wrestler at times, so if he can hone it in a little, I think Ohio State could be alright here. 174, I think Ohio State has some serious decisions to make. For one, they have the returning national runner-up, who's also a true sophomore I might add, in Rocco Welsh, along with the original starter and former All-American at 165 Carson Karchula, more than likely coming back from injury. Obviously, Welsh has a red shirt to use, but also, why not just let them battle it out? Because to be honest, Rocco has already done more than Karchula has ever done at Ohio State. Also curious to see if Karchula tries to go back down to 165, especially with the field losing some heavy hitters. But the same can also be said for 174, which is arguably losing more top dogs, but it's also gaining some very heavy hitters as well. Either way, we'll just have to wait and see, but my money is on Rocco Welsh for this season, especially due to Karchula just being very injury prone. Karchula's also a lot better at freestyle, so I think 165 suits him better if he wants to be a 74 kilogram guy. 184, I think, will be Ryder Rogotsky again. They also have former high school star Seth Shoemate, but Rogotsky has appeared to jump over him during this past season as a true freshman. I also think he's a pretty similar case to Nick Bouzakis, to where if he can clean up a few things and have a good balance of basics lean into his more wild stuff, he could be a pretty scary wrestler. I mean, to be honest, he's already kind of scary to wrestle in the 184 field with some of his knockout power, but if he can add some other things to his arsenal, I think he'll be pretty dominant at the weight. He's already having a pretty nice summer, competing well at the U20 trials in freestyle and Greco. With that said though, to be fair, Shoemate also had a nice U23 tournament, so maybe is more of a competitive weight than we think. 197 was another weight I think Ohio State was hunting pretty hard in the portal for, but as of now, there's been no luck. I know Luke Geog didn't have the best season as most would have expected, but I still think there's a lot of promise with him. I think if he develops a few more ways to score, gets used to the long Big Ten season, and stays healthy, he could make another big game similar to his redshirt season. I personally just don't think he was ready for the grind of how long a college season can be, but that's even more reasons he'll adapt and be ready for this season for the Buckeyes. Finally, we wrap it up with heavyweight, where I don't think many people are questioning Nick Feldman is going to be the guy again. Even though Greg Kirkfleet of Penn State is coming back, I don't know, I think there's a chance. A chance at what? I'll let you all decide in the comment section below. I also think Ben Keeter for Iowa could also be a real talking point now for heavyweight, but we'll wait and see how that develops as well. That's another thing. You could all let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Nick Feldman for National Champ, let's go. But for now, I thank you all very much for watching and listening to me ramble about the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think Ohio State always has some fun wrestle-offs, but this year especially could be wild with 125, 174, and 149 through 165. Heck, even 184 is looking like it could be a lot of fun. All of which having potentially some real storylines, which you all know we love here at TrueTan Wrestling. However, if I missed any of your favorite Buckeyes, or if you have your own thoughts on the lineup for next year, let me know in the comment section below. I'd honestly love to hear what y'all have to say because Ohio State's getting sneaky deep. I mean, they have Carter Neves coming in at heavyweight from Blair, and I'm real curious how they're going to fit him in the lineup, but he has a red shirt to use, so we got another year before we have to worry about that. Anyway, again, if you enjoyed, like and subscribe, and for now, take care, everybody, and go Bucks.